Jassat, and today we're having one of our internal subject matter experts speak on achieving high availability with Oracle Standard Edition and maximizing availability with Oracle Standard Edition. So I know I have worked on a lot of clients that have Standard Edition, and they sometimes come up with a request to say that they would like maximum availability on it. And from my previous experience or from my previous hat, we always say migrate to Enterprise Edition. But today I'll hand over to Sai to give a presentation. Um, as entity, I have volunteered to take over the Oracle cloud workshops. So if there's any workshops that you would like to present or request, please do send me an email. And then once we are done in the chat, I will share a feedback. Please do fill out the feedback. This is important for us so that we can grow our skills to be the number one partner. Thank you. So that's all from me. I will hand over now to Sai. Sai, could you share your screen to see everything is working?
Uh, sure.
Okay, so I'm just putting in the feedback link there. So before you leave, or if you do leave early, please do fill out the feedback.
Ahmed, could you let me know if the screen is visible?
Yes, yes, yes. The screen is visible there. Thank you very much. So you can continue.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Sai, as Ahmed uh, uh, introduced me. So, I mostly work with Oracle database and applications. So, today we are going to look at one of the challenges we usually face when we are working with the customer. So, customer wants a database where he can invest the least amount of funds and try to get more returns out of it. And one of the major things he'll always look for is the high availability. So, uh, of course, when we are considering an enterprise edition database, we know that there are thousands of dollars involved. So when we are actually talking about the standard edition, so that would be not even 10%. So, but the challenge is how can we achieve the disaster recovery or high availability for the standard edition? So, in today's date, we have multiple tools which can help us in achieving this approach. And of course, we can come up with a standard approach where we can write few scripts. However, uh, are we rather than reinventing the wheel, we can use the existing tools that are available for us, right? So one tool in the available fleet is called the DB Visit. Uh, a DB Visit has provided us with a tool called Standby MP, a Standby Multi-Platform. So Standby Multi-Platform is the tool which will help us in setting up the disaster recovery for a few of the commonly used databases, Oracle, SQL Server, and Postgres. So in today's session, we'll only concentrate on Oracle. However, we can use this for Microsoft SQL Server and also Postgres. So that being said, let's dive down into how are we going to set up a disaster recovery. Uh, and also talk a bit about the HA, how we can set up the HA using the standby NP. So first, let me present the servers we are going to use for today's live lab. Uh, just let me switch to that screen. So these are the two servers we are going to use today for our test case. So the primary server is the server which we are going to use as the prime host for the primary database, and the dbv hyphen standby is something we'll be using for the standby database. So uh, for us to set up the entire infrastructure, so I have completed the infrastructure level setup that required for us to build the standby and do all the test cases. So the major thing that require is uh, uh, so I'm sorry, is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is
Yes,
Yes,
visible.
yes, it
yes,
is,
I.
Sai.
Okay, okay. So uh, as the image suggests over here, right? So the standby MP is the tool which work based on the agent communication. So we'll have to configure a control center, and we'll have to configure the agent on all the database servers which we are going to use. So that's how the thing is. So what we did is we have configured the control center on the standby server itself. So as we see over here, this is the control center process that is running right now, and this is the agent process. And this is the agent process on the primary server. And I have configured a database called primary on the primary server, which we'll be using as the source database. And there's no database configured on the standby server, which we are going to do now. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the configuration. The one challenge over here is the standby MP will not able to install the binaries or replicate the binaries from source to the target. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to sorry. So we have already installed the software on the standby server and complete the staging of the binaries. So now we are going to use it to configure the standby. So to do that, first we'll have to log in. Okay, let me start from the. So uh, uh, this is the control center log web listener from where we are going to do all the GUI navigation. So we do have the command line interface availability for this. We also have the GUI interface. So in today's run, we'll use the GUI to set up the standby. So we are going to first configure the license so that we can move forward with the standby setup. So to configure the license, we'll have to first select the primary host. And in that, we'll have to select the database. And then we'll have to select the standby host where we'll be configuring the standby. So um, this particular location. So let's talk a bit about how standby MP is going to manage the archeologs, which are the backbone of the entire DR architecture, right? Uh, uh, I'm sorry, I think I missed the major point to discuss. So the standby MP will leverage the same physical copy architecture which the active data card will be doing. So basically what it will be doing is it will be shipping all the archives from the primary to standby and applying them to the standby database. So in order to do so, it will need a separate location to do that. So this is the temporary location which we have provided on both primary and standby, where the uh, standby MP is going to use for the as the staging for the archives before applying to the standby database. So that being said, we have defined the standby database name, and this is the Oracle home, which we have configured. So this is the same. And we'll leave the database unique name as is, and we'll use the same location. This is where the DB standby MP software has been sourced.
Are you,
So,
sorry, man. Are you switching between two screens because you talk, see your putty screen, and then are you only talking on the putty screen?
oh, I'm really sorry. I think I missed a lot. Sorry. Let me.
You seem to be switching between two, but then we only
Yes.
see the one screen.
Now, Kurt, is my screen visible?
Yeah, now that's perfect. Now we can see both sides if you switch between the two. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's working 100%. Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. In that case, let me start from the up top. So, uh, basically, as we have discussed, right? So, we'll be having a control center configured for the standby MP, from where we'll be managing all the setup. So this is the web listener for the control center, and this is where we can do our entire GUI navigations for the entire setup and management. Um, so now we'll go ahead and set up the Oracle setup uh, for our standby configuration. So now we'll have to select the primary server details. In the server, we'll have to select the uh, database, and same goes to the standby. So we'll have to select the standby hostname. So on the standby, we'll change the standby SID to standby rather than primary. And this is the host name. I mean, where the binaries are staged on the standby server. And this is the standby MP binary agent. I mean, the standby MP agent has been configured. So we can also build the standby in ASM if it need be, but as we do not, we did not configure ASM in current scenario, we will not be using those ASM. So this is the configuration name, the primary. We can provide any name over here. It's just that it will not be accepting more than 15 characters, and it will not be accepting special characters in the name. So now we need to provide the license. So license being this. Now we'll have to click on create configuration. So now we have just created the configuration of the setup we are going to do. So now we need to set up the standby. Uh, so to set up, we need to click on uh, the setup over here. Okay, so the primary has not been set on in arcalog mode. Because of this, it has failed. Uh, so let's quickly set the primary in arcalog mode. Let me set the DB recovery file test is also not set. Let me quickly set that up. So sorry, bear with me. Just give me 2 minutes. I'm just gonna bring this up. Uh, so yeah, we should be good. Now let's retry this. So now it is asking us for few parameters before getting started with the standby build. So do you want to ship arcalogs from time while creating the standby database? Yes, we want to do that. Do you want to perform backup transfer parallel wherever possible. It will just save some time for us. Uh, and shared space for backup. No, we are just going to use the temporary locations for the backup and restore. Maybe I'll just create a temporary location under 02. So we just created a simple new database, because of which the database size is not more than 3 GB. So yeah. So now we can modify any parameters we want to replicate to the standby database over here. I'll just leave them as is, so that it will be replica of the primary database. So we can edit the shipping intervals. Uh, so for now, we can just leave it as 600. And later point, once the standby has been built, we can edit the details as we need. Or else I'll just reduce it to 60 seconds for our test cases. So now all we have to do is click on the create standby. So now if you see over here, it will be performing multiple tasks. So first it will be checking all the pre-validations, then uh, it will create the standby control file, then it will back up the primary database, transfer it to the standby location, and then build the standby database. So one uh, now one advantage using the standby MP is, so the main challenge for us whenever we are configuring the standby for any of the primary databases is the log shipping rate. In case if we are having the standby built on a different availability domain, it will definitely be a challenge for us, because of which we will be facing a lot of sync issues. To address this, what DB Visit has helped us with the compression address option, where it will compress the RK logs before transferring it to the target location. So because of this, the network transfer rate will reduce I'm sorry, the network transfer load will reduce drastically, and the transfer rate will increase. So in doing this, we can even configure cross-region standbys with minimum of latencies. So if you see over here, it has taken the backup and transferred to the standby server, and now it is restoring the standby database. Now, if you see, so it transferred and then cleared the backups on the primary. On the standby, if you see, the backups are there. The standby is being built yet, so it will just take a few more minutes to complete.
While we're
As we are,
waiting for this to complete, Sai, is this product that you're using, is it a licensed product or is it a...
it is a licensed product, Ahmed, but compared to, I mean, we are using this for the standard edition, right? Compared
Yeah.
to the enterprise edition, uh, actually, I was going to get to this at the end, but compared to the enterprise edition, for which we are trying to find alternatives, right? So the standard edition 2 plus the DB visit license will cost around 15% of the entire enterprise edition, what we are going to pay. So Yes, it is a licensed product, but it's lot cheaper than an enterprise edition.
And if I may ask, who is are we certified resellers for it, or uh, okay, carry on. We'll ask the question to the end. Sorry.
No, Ahmed. Actually, we are not certified resellers for a TB visit. We were just working with them to find. I mean, recently we had few of the requests from some customers where they want to reduce their licensing cost, but still want to retain their disaster recovery capabilities and high availability capabilities. As part of this, we have encountered few tools, out of which the DB visit was providing a better tool to use. Uh, as we see, it's lot user friendly. Uh, now the standby build is complete. Standby is now built and active. So now if we actually connect to the database and see, okay, the database is currently in mounted state, and it's a physical standby database.
So, hi, Sai, this is Palvinder. If I may ask, so in such case, the RPO is 1 minute, right?
Yes. Uh,
Okay.
uh,
Mhm.
RPO is something we can manage, Parvinder, based on the requirements again.
Okay. And another question. So, when we say that we are setting it to 1 minute, I believe we are also setting parameters like archive target for 1 minute. I mean,
Yes. Actually, we are not going to modify the database parameters, Parvinder. The entire
mhm.
management is going to be with the standby MP. All the configuration will be doing on the DDC file, which is the standby MP config file, where it will
Mhm.
manage the archelog management.
So, Sai, where I actually am driving it from is if suppose we are saying that okay, there will be a latency of 1 minute,
Mhm.
and if you are pulling the data from primary database, so there are two ways of doing it, right? Either you take it from the archelog, and if we are reading it from archelog in the asynchronous mode, so basically what we are doing is like we are doing the log switch, and then we are pulling the latest log, right, archelog from primary to secondary, right?
Yes.
So that is one thing that is happening. And if we have to take data from redo, then it is difficult to control that 30 second 60 seconds lag, right? So directly, if we are
Yes.
taking from redo, then probably that we cannot do, and that will depend on the IO as well as on the network latency that is there from primary to secondary, right? So that is why I
Yes.
was thinking whether it is taking from the archelog or is it taking from redo also.
It is taken from the archelog, Parvinder. So with the standby MP, we can
Mhm.
actually control the archelog transfer time and all archelog apply time. So for example, we want to have the RPO of the database set to less than 30 seconds. We can do that. We can set the RPO uh, to 30 seconds, and also
Mhm.
the transfer rate. I actually let me demonstrate that. I think that
Yes,
should be
please.
better.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So right now the time lag is 1 minute. This is the apply lag. So now let's edit the uh, the apply delay. So now the log apply is set to 0 seconds. Because earlier the 60 seconds which we have set is the transfer rate, which we are going to edit now. Uh, What's this? Yeah, advanced options. So this is the current configuration we have for the primary and the standby. So over here we will have to set the time. So with this, it has been updated. Now let's go and check the apply lag. Now it has been 0. So let's just say I want to transfer the archeologs, but still I don't want to apply them for next 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Then we can leverage the delay apply and let's just say I want to set the delay apply to 60 seconds. Now let's see how the database is. So the apply is again back to 1 minute. Time lag is back to 1 minute again. And it's just not 1 minute. It completely depends on the scenario we want to set. Actually, recently we have a test case scenario where the transfer of the archeologs was immediate, but the apply was delayed by 3 hours. So with this, we are going to achieve the RPO of less than 5 minutes, but still we are not going to apply the archives until we are 3 hours past the last thing. So in case we want to manually sync, then we can just go and click on apply sync, apply logs. It will actually switch, apply delay, and then it will apply all the available archives. Varun, I'm not really sure if I answered your question, but please feel free
Yes.
to.
Yes. Yeah, I could understand that. I had actually a few more questions because I'm looking from other perspective also. So if you can go to the primary database once, are you done with your
Okay.
presentation? Otherwise, I would wait for your presentation to be completed, then we can have the questions.
There are a few more setup that were planned. I mean, how we are going to manage the archives, how are we going to manage the alerts.
Mhm.
There are few more navigations we were planning to.
Yes, sure, Sai. So I think you can finish your presentation. After that, I will have my questions.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I mean, right now we have the standby setup completed, right? But the major point is how are we going to test if the standby is reliable? I mean, there'll be reliability tests that we need to perform on our standbys. But every time we cannot do full failover test. So for in that scenarios, what we can do is we can start up our database in read-only mode. For that, where is this? Start. Yeah, start. Sorry. So over here, we can start our standby database in read-only mode. Let's try that. First, let me standby update it. Let me revert it back to 0. I'm sorry. There is one mistake I have done. So the standby update delay, it's actually not seconds, it's in minutes. So we have selected 60 minutes for the apply tag. I think I missed that. So now, how are we going to start our database in read-only mode? We can uh, just click on start read-only, and it has been started. Now let's see our standby database. It's in it has been started in read-only. Now we can do all our query tests. We can do our reliability test, and then just click on restart. So it is back in mounted with so same goes with primary. We can restart primary as needed. And if we want to test the complete reliability test, a complete test of the standby, then what we can do is we can go with uh, we can do a graceful switchover. So by doing this, what we can do is we can switch our primary into standby and standby into primary. Uh, so let's do that at the end after discussing the how are we going to manage our RK logs. Even for that, we do have a setup available where we can enable RK log management. We can define how many times the archives has been backed up, if the archives has been applied, and the age of the archive. And depending on all these, we can define uh, uh, how the archives needs to be removed. And standby MP will be removed. And as I said in the starting, so the archive destination will not on the standby will not be same as uh, uh, so this is where the archives will be created. So that is how we can manage the archive creation and deletion as well. And in case if we want to set up some ad hoc scripts, we can even do that. And I couldn't set up the SMTP relay, but we can set up the entire relay host and also configure all the mail alerts from the same setup itself. uh, it might be alerts of out of sync, everything we can set up. So I think that's pretty much it with the presentation. I'm sorry, I think we graceful switchover, right? And also we can click on we have activate standby option where we can activate the standby, but graceful switchover will be helpful for us at this point because the primary will be the standby and the standby will be the primary, right? So I'm uh, starting the switch, a graceful switchover. It will first perform all the necessary sanity checks, sync, do a final sync from the current primary to current standby, and then convert the standby into primary and primary into standby. So as it is still converting, right? I mean, it will take few minutes, so maybe we can move forward with for any questions. Uh,
Any questions from the floor? So,
Uh,
Sai, okay, yeah, Kira.
sorry, sorry. Yeah. So, Sai, can we have the question again? I mean, the one that I wanted to clarify.
yeah, sure,
Uh,
sure.
yeah. Can we go to the production and can see how many archeologs are being generated?
Uh,
If we give the
Sure. Once the conversion is complete, right now the conversion is in progress, right? So once it is done, we'll
okay, okay, sure.
So, Sai, you saying that this is an external tool that customers have to buy to implement to have a standby DR site. Am I right?
yes, yes.
But now, what happens if this application goes down? Does it also affect the standby?
Uh, for the brief, I mean the control center, right? I mean
Yes.
we do have the agents, right? So in case the control center goes down for a brief period, maybe for an hour or 1.5 hour, between which we are fixing the control center, right? The transfer between the primary and the standby will not be impacted, Ahmad. The reason being,
Okay.
the configuration is already transmitted to the agents, and agent will be taking care of the archelog sync.
Okay. No. Perfect.
It's
Perfect.
just that we will not be able to manage the configuration or do any graceful switchovers between the period. But the sync will not be interrupted because that will be completely handled uh, by the agents.
Hey, Palvinder, this is Anil. So, if I understand your question, uh, you're worried about RPO, right? For suppose if there are archives generated and there is a network glitch between primary and standby, maybe they're not transferred. What will
So,
happen to that? Is that your question?
so Anil, my question was more on the performance side of it. Okay, so like in case of Oracle, we understand that okay, there are so many or there are too frequent lock switching happening and archivings are being generated. It's not good for the performance of the database, right? So while we give this 1 minute of 1 minute of gap, so does it mean that the archive is being generated every 1 minute and then it is being shipped to the standby? That is question number
Mm,
one.
Okay.
And
uh,
yeah,
okay, so
so
taking the question number one, Parvinder,
mhm.
no, that's not how it will manage the archive. I mean, the standby. So, Parvinder, the thing is, the standby MP will not control how the archives are being generated on the primary database. It will control how it is being transferred to the standby and at what intervals they are being applied to the standby. So
Okay,
we
so
can control.
yeah, please
We
go
can
ahead.
if we can set a control. I mean, okay, we'll have to transfer the archives during once every 60 seconds, or as if we set it to 0, as and when an archive is generated, it will be copying it to the standby. If we set any value after every that value, it will copy the available archives. And coming to the standby, we can also set at what intervals the standby MP will have to apply the archives to the standby. Let's just say I have a concern of some block corruptions, and I want to make sure my standby is not applied with those block corruptions. I mean, when I say block corruptions, any unwanted data changes. So I can still have archives copied every second as and when they are created, but still I can control at which rate they are being applied to the standby. So that
Okay.
this option, the standby update delay, will control that apply time.
Agree, Sai. So I think that is the right approach also, considering suppose you want to protect your standby for any corruption in the production. So yeah, there will be a, I mean, if we are introducing some delay, that will really be helpful to avoid any corruption that is happening in the production, and we don't want to appear that in the standby, right?
Yeah.
So that means in this particular case, the RPO from production to secondary is not really 1 minute. It could be an hour or it could be 30 minutes also, depending upon how frequent the archive is being generated in primary, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I have understanding of this product DB visit a bit. Okay. So
Mhm.
this is the classical problem that DB visit have, which probably is not there with the enterprise edition, right? So there is always a gap between whatever the redo is generated till the last archive. So that will not probably be carried forward to the standby database, right? So if we are talking about the standard edition databases, some of the customers that we have supported, they had like in a day they have like only 2 or 3 archive generation also if the activities are not really high. So in such
Yes.
cases, sometimes the RPO was even 6 hours. Okay, so I'll just share my
Yeah.
example since this is all DBA forum, so I can probably
Yeah.
share my
Yeah.
example. So
Yeah.
what we had
Actually,
done,
that would be helpful. Yes.
yeah. So what we had done, we had actually created a standby database without using the DB visit because we are also working closely with DB visit, but then we found these gaps in DB visit product as a product itself. So what we did, we had the archive generation. Okay, that is why I talked about the archive gap. So the first thing that we did, we applied this parameter in the production, right? So this way we ensured that every 30 minutes at least, okay, there's an archive generated 30 minutes, or this can be depending upon the RPO RTO objective of the application also, right? So we had that parameter set. So if we say 30 minutes, so what it will do, every 30 minutes will be forcibly performing a lock switch, and then it will push the archive. I mean, we can configure it to push the archive to the standby database, and there we can apply. Okay.
Yep.
So that way, at least we ensure that there is no gap more than 30 minutes. Okay. So that is first thing that has been covered. Now, it also comes like when we are talking about critical application, even though it is running on the standby database, we would not want to lose our redo log files. Okay. So for that one, what we had done, we had created a shared file system. Okay. So usually for the shared file system, it is the nature of shared file system is that it can write only from one server while the other server can still read it. Okay. And we do this shared file system between primary and secondary. So primary will be always be writing the redo log file to that. Okay.
Yep.
And as and when there is a problem, we can do zero RPO recovery. When I say zero RPO recovery, that is from primary to secondary. So this is one practical configuration that we had created and we had tested and we have used it also.
Okay. Yeah. And to address the first one, Palvinder, and the second
Mhm.
one, I do agree that is a challenge where all the redo in progress will be lost in case the primary goes down.
Mhm.
But the first point, right? So as you said, there is this parameter in the database where we can enforce the lock switches. So it's the default approach we'll be doing, and once the switch happens, right? Maybe we can set it to 5 minutes, we can set it to 30 minutes, we can set it to, and
Mhm.
then the log transfer will be taken care by the DB visit. And in case if we still want a manual switch to happen, we can also automate that using the standby, where we can configure the automation over here, where we'll have a setup. Where is this? Um, we can set up using over here. Uh, Actually, DB Visit provided that one additional feature, uh, 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 where we can actually reduce the RPO. As you said, it might take 6 hours or 7 hours to one lock switch to happen. To avoid that,
Correct.
to enforce the lock switches, DB Visit did provide. But even though we've set, no matter how small the RPO we have set, let's just say we have set it to 5 minutes. In case the primary goes down between this time, the brief period of 5 minutes, then definitely will be loss of data, which is in
Correct.
the redo. In the redo.
Agree, Sai. So it purely depends upon what kind of RTO or RPO objective the application has. If the application RPO objective is 30 minutes, I think it is well and good to use DB visit and then have every say the archive generated every 25 minutes and then shift to the standby. Then probably RPO of 30 minutes can easily be achieved, right? So yeah, depending
It
upon case
doesn't
to case
have to be
basis.
20 minutes, Palvinder. We can set it to 5 minutes. We can even set it to 2 minutes.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
completely depending on the requirement.
Yes, I mean, but if you ask me, probably I will not set it for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. I would prefer
Yeah.
not to set it because it
Yeah.
is always an IO heavy operation, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
So
I would probably
5 minutes would
Mhm.
be the most feasible time, depending on the most best feasible configuration. 5 minutes would be the best approach.
Mhm.
And also, Palvinder, speaking about the resource intensive, right? DB
Mhm.
Visit has tried to address that with their current configuration, where with their tool has been redesigned to be least load on the server. So
Mhm.
they are providing it with the nearly zero load. I mean, the agent will cause nearly zero load on the server. So
Okay.
we can also consider that. So as we see over here, there's no listener configured for the databases. Reason being, the agent will work as the listener to transfer the archive.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Thanks, Sai.
So
So,
now
Sai,
we have
have you
switched.
compare?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sai, have you compare all the options between the regular enterprise Oracle edition has and this tool can do everything?
I wouldn't say everything, Ankit, but the most important ones we did compare.
Okay, okay, makes sense. So this is
I
not
mean,
like covering
uh,
everything that Oracle Enterprise Edition do. Okay, but this is for
uh,
high availability standby we can use for.
when we're talking about high availability, Ankit, this even covers that. I mean, it's just that due to lack of configuration, we didn't uh, 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 produce that. But going to the configuration, right? So we can configure the high availability as at this point. DB Visit, the standby MP, will provide us with the option to configure the high availability. There is an entire set of software. I mean, using the same software, the standby MP software, entire set of configuration will have to do.
Okay,
Uh,
and is
so
this
Ankit,
do they charge? Yeah.
sorry, Ankit. Yeah, so I think I can add on to what Sai was mentioning. So I think when you're comparing with Enterprise Edition and Standard Edition and DB Visit on top of it, there is a big gap, right? Because when we are talking about Enterprise Edition, it has a lot of tools like partitioning or RAC or for that example like auditing and performance tuning packs also that is containing AWR. So those things are not covered by DB Visit. DB Visit is specific for the disaster recovery.
Yes.
More to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do they charge the licensing by per database or the size of the database?
Per database, Ankit. They charge based on per database.
Okay, so it doesn't matter your database is 10 terabyte or 20 terabyte. So that's good.
Uh, I mean, I don't think we'll be having a standard edition that large, but we can. One advantage is once we have the licensing, we can even use it for enterprise edition. But yes, the at this point, I don't think the licensing is based on the size. It's based on the number of databases.
Okay, yep, thanks.
So now let's just check. I mean, we did a graceful switchover, right? So now the standby database is the primary database, and the primary one is the physical standby. And looking at the current like gap, it's 0. I think we can take any more.
Any more questions? I think we've got 3 minutes left. Okay, there's no more questions. Thank you very much, Sai. Really appreciate your time. And thank you to all the people that have joined. We had over 37 participants. Please do fill out the survey. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Take care.